Greetings, warriors. Welcome to another episode of the Cleanse Heal Ignite podcast. I am your hostess, Dr. Diane Kaiser. Today is not as much Ask the Doc about doctor-related topics, but it's more about how you can get access to asking the right doc, a more appropriate doc for your specific situation. Because many of you, I get it, you're sick of sick care. And the topic for today's show is paying too much for health insurance, discover a smarter alternative, stop paying more for less, learn how conscious health warriors are switching to health sharing to save thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, and then also choose the providers they want and reclaim control over their healthcare. So before I bring on our guests, I wanted to share and remind you of a story from me anyway that hits home. And that is last year, about a year, actually it was close to a year and a half ago, my father almost died. And it was, I would consider this medical negligence because he went to the ER twice within about a 2-week time period. And the first thing they said to him was, "You're lucky to be alive." And then after doing a few diagnostic tests and some blood tests, they said, "Oh, you have a hiatal hernia. And here is one medication or no medication. Go home and just rest." And when I heard that pattern twice, I stepped in not as his daughter, but as his doctor. And I said, "This is not proper diagnosis. This is not proper medical practice to get to the root of why you have these symptoms, because you are severely blocked." And that's what I had heard. And I asked him, "Did they look at your heart? Did they do any scans, any diagnostic, anything at all on your heart?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Okay, fly down to see my medical team in Tijuana, and we're going to look at your heart." And just like I suspected, the doctor that we work with down in Tijuana, he's got 3 specialties. One is a cardiovascular specialty, and they found that he was blocked in all 4 of his heart vessels. And what they discovered is that he needed 3 heart stents. And the doctor looked my parents both in the eye, especially my mom, and said, "You are a ticking time bomb. And this is the one that I'm the most concerned about that's blocked, is your widowmaker." And my mom looked at the doctor, looked at my dad, looked over at me, and she finally got it. She finally got it that I am not a cardiovascular specialist. I am a naturopath. This is not my thing. I'm not the type of doctor that people go see when they go to hospitals that have insurance that quote unquote cover for your best interest. We now can probably all agree that it's called healthcare, not healthcare. And they went back to their negligent Kaiser HMO and said, "This is what we discovered outside of your care." And within 2 weeks, he was scheduled for surgery. Within a month after that, they received the reimbursement for said surgery. But I am the daughter that many people don't have, that happens to be a doctor that looks at root cause, which MDs don't. And a lot of people, maybe you're listening, you don't have somebody in your corner like myself, in your family. And this health, it's not even health insurance, but it's an alternative to health insurance. This is the closest next best thing to having options that are looking out for root cause analysis, that offer coverage for the things that actually make you well instead of make you feel like hell. And this is a conversation that I have had with my friend Robin Openshaw, who I trust significantly, who is extremely intelligent, extremely professional. And she brought this to my attention about 3 months ago. So this has been a show I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I'm pretty familiar with what this whole entire concept is all about. I've done health shares before, but never needed them. I know Robin has stories herself. And the second one I wanted to share is that I think by now many of you realize that the majority of doctors and hospitals now have written in the fine print that if you go in under for any kind of surgery, they can vaccinate you to update you to whatever vaccines that you have not done for years. And that could be the COVID shot. It could be any shot that they determine, and any shot. And you sign your life away when you go in for these procedures. And then also up to 80% of the prescriptions and procedures that are being used in the operating room have no safety studies, have no clinical trials, but yet we opt for them because we're desperate and we're afraid. So this entire approach is completely different than health insurance. It's revolutionizing the way many families who have been negligent or received care from negligent doctors like my dad and many other stories, it remedies it. I was blown away by the stories that Robin had shared Our healthcare system isn't healthcare, it's healthcare. Premiums are climbing, deductibles keep getting higher, claims are getting denied, you're rushed through appointments, sick care is rewarded, prevention is ignored, holistic natural care is completely disregarded, and somehow we're expected to believe this is the best we can do. I don't buy it, and that's why we're bringing on two of my guests. We've got Robin Openshaw, and she's one of my friends from a long time, and Christian Elliott. So let's bring them on the show to start talking about this alternative that I think you all need to know about. There's Robin.
Hey.
And there's Christian. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if you guys want to share stories, because Robin, you and I, when we share audios, it's like, are you kidding me stories? Like, are the palm to forehead, this is really happening stories? I don't know if you wanted to share a little bit if we had enough time, because we do have a slideshow for today. Robin, did you want to share a story about your own father?
Yeah, so my dad died in March, and he had never spent a night in the hospital till, I don't know, a week or two before he died. He ran 6 miles a day his entire adult life. He was still jogging 6 months after being told he had 3 to 6 months to live. They had told him, hey, chemo and radiation isn't going to help you here. You're just full of cancer head to toe. He had every vaccine known to man and then 5 more in the military. So maybe that's why, I don't know. But anyways, lived a really healthy life. And for some reason, about 6 months in, even though he was still jogging and he was supposed to be dead, they decided to do chemo and radiation. Two chemo treatments, and they said, no more. This is going to kill him. The second treatment really almost killed him. So then they go to radiation, which I didn't know this, but now at least this radiation they prescribed my dad for metastatic prostate cancer that was also in his bones and his liver, is made in a nuclear reactor, and they put it in your body via an IV liquid full of radioactive isotopes. Anyways, over the course of the last several months of his life, he did 3 of those. I didn't know till after he died that each of those bags of radiation was $45,000. So they got all the way to, even though my dad was a very elite Air Force officer, and they basically have the best health insurance there is. So, you know, Medicare plus this super elite coverage. We were the day after we buried my dad and found out that my mom still didn't know if these $45,000 treatments would even be covered. So that's the story that Diane's talking about. But in my own case, you know, raised 4 children to adulthood, I've been using health sharing, which is a different model. And it's what we're here to talk about, for 17 years. When I got divorced, I didn't want to pay the super high premiums of my ex-husband's insurance, which kept getting worse every year and also more expensive. And I could see why, because my ex-husband was working for the government. And, you know, so supposedly that's why you work for the government instead of as an engineer out in the private world, is so that you get good benefits. But I was just watching the benefits go downhill, and I could see why, because I swear half the people who worked for him were obese, diabetic. They weren't super educated people. They weren't taking care of their health. They saw taking care of your health as being, I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me what to do when something's broken. And so if you're like Diane, if you're like me, if you're like Christian too, who's also been with health sharing for many years, the Cliff's notes of what I've decided after researching that, especially this year pretty intensively, is that the way to go is to max out your health savings card. Okay, so and you can actually invest money within your health savings account, and you just keep rolling it over year after year. You don't have to use it every year. Mm-hmm. And then get on a health sharing plan and get the high deductible plan, and make sure you save the amount of that's set aside for your healthcare in case you need it for something catastrophic. If you're someone who would choose the chemo and radiation, I already know I wouldn't. So really for me, it's kind of limited to like accidents or, you know, right, acts of God kind of thing. Like I wish there was a plan where I could just say, I forego chemo and radiation from here to the end because I would like to pay less, but that's not available with any company I know of. So my plan is health savings account, paying pre-tax dollars, as I always have. If I want to go to a chiropractor, if I want to go to a naturopath, most of these clinics have gone to cash pay. And then you can't actually have a health savings account unless you have a high deductible plan. So my goal is to have the lowest payment per month and the highest deductible. That may not be everybody's plan. If somebody has has like major pre-existing conditions, they may need to stay with their existing health insurance because they're going to use a lot of allopathic medicine. But
Right.
that's my conclusion for myself. And health savings just gives me a lot more flexibility and brings my cost way down.
I love it. Thank you, Robin. And the uncertainty, especially as a widow, to be like, now I got to deal with not only grieving my husband, but am I going to get the $135,000 back from this health insurance plan that I've carried for so long, thinking that it was there? Especially your dad had government care. Is that right, Robin?
Yeah, he was a U.S. Air Force colonel. So
Yeah.
really, really high level insurance, and they still had not been approved. So
Right, right. And we just interviewed a patient of ours who worked with us, and she was a dentist, and she had opted to pay for $25,000 plus for the same thing. She had breast cancer, but nobody ever talked to her about like the things that ideally doctors or people, clinics, coaches, like what we do in our ministry is actually covered by these expenses or these savings that you pre-tax save in like a Roth IRA type account. And then that money never gets taxed. What I love so much about this is it rolls over to the next year. It's not use it or lose it. What like so many other plans, like there's a lot of Christian plans that also, I mean, that's a whole nother topic and we can get into that maybe today. But one person I recently talked to, story from the United States, his insurance plan went from $2,000 to $4,500 in 1 month, in 1 year when it renewed. And for a family of four, $4,500 a month. That's like a mortgage for like a $1 million house, maybe, Robin, something like that. And so he was like, I can't do this anymore. We're not even using it. They're pretty healthy. So they actually went over to a health share plan because he's like, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to do the best I can. We haven't used this policy for 5 years, except for a few things. And so this is where a lot of families are. And so, bring in Christian, which is how Robin found out about this. And when Robin introduced it to me, I thought, my people deserve to at least hear this as an option, right? This is an option. This is not medical advice, but the option is for you to consider here. So we're going to be talking about some of these things. If you guys have questions in our VIP group after, you could join dianekaiser.com/VIP. If you've never been with us, it's $1 for your first week. So you can ask Christian and Robin questions after this in our private group on topics we can't really discuss openly like this in our membership community. And then, of course, we're going to be flying the link below, as well as in the caption below in our link in dianekaiser.com/impact. If you guys are considering this at all or want to at some point look at that website to see a little bit more information about this throughout the show. But Christian, let's take it away because I know that you guys hear stories upon stories. We could share stories all day long, and I hope you guys identify yourself in some of these. But Christian, go ahead and start. And then I know we've got a slideshow as well, wherever you'd like to take it.
Yeah, there's so many places we could take it. I guess the high level, I want to reinforce a little bit about what you had to say regarding the differences between bill sharing and insurance. And it may sound funny to hear it, but I almost think of insurance as risky now because the whole system, for the most part, there's quasi nonprofits that are more just, I almost call them fake philanthropy at this point. But most of the traditional insurance world is a for-profit, publicly owned world. And what that means is that the primary responsibility of these publicly traded health insurance companies is to maximize profit. And if that happens to help you, fantastic. And if it doesn't, too bad for you. But they have since Obamacare was started, the incentives all shifted to centralization. And what centralization did was it brought in the ability for insurance companies to start consolidating more or less the entire healthcare world, except for pharma. So they have gone from just being people that provided coverage to now they are owners of hospitals, they are owners of pharmacies, they're owners of pharmacy benefit manager organizations, they employ doctors, they employ pharmacists. And that model has allowed them basically to control and continue to inflate the cost of it over and over. And now with AI in the picture, that is a tool they use to rapidly deny dozens or hundreds of claims in a second. And all they have to do is push a button or turn a dial, and it turns up the denials. And they know that less than 1%, I think it's 0.2% of people will actually appeal a denial. And so they just basically have found a way to grind you down. It's very similar to what what car insurance got busted for doing. And they, it was Allstate that had a boxing gloves policy. You're in good hands. No, now we're going to fight you on it. And the health insurance world has kind of become that same model with AI. And what that now means when AI and the insurance for-profit publicly traded model married, what happened was now the doctors work for the insurance company, they work for the hospital CEOs, they don't work for you. And that's a system feature, not a bug. That is how it was designed to do or to function. And when you take the patient out of it, their primary role and that sacred relationship's gone, what you have is a mathematical system that isn't necessarily looking to do anything to benefit you. And if it happens to, fine, but they get away with everything they possibly can. And the dramatic inflation of the bills, I can show you some whoppers. I had one, my own personal one this morning that I got back, and how much that was negotiated down because I have an advocate in my corner now. So that kind of maybe sets the stage of some of the difference. And I can get into what bill sharing is specifically and how it contrasts with insurance, if you like.
Oh God, Christian, you said something. I'm so glad that you mentioned this, because Robin had shared a video. I can't remember her name. She's a YouTuber, and I mean, she like Robin says, she's not necessarily a warm cup of tea, because she's delivering, truths and harsh news. They don't land on, the good news that you want to hear, but it's the truth that you deserve. And one of the things I remember, and I don't remember the statistics, maybe you do, but since AI came into the picture with these health insurance, not health share. So always remember, here are the terms that we're using, you guys. There's health insurance, which is what most people have. And then there's health share, which is the antidote to consider, right? So the health insurance right now, since they brought on AI, the amount of claims that they've denied have spiked significantly. And I can't remember the number. It was something like 90 something percent that they're denying. And there's no human interaction anymore. The AI is just decreasing the claims. I think that denial, I think it was 20% more claims that got denied than before, or 20% of the claims. I can't remember. Do you know the number of that, Christian?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that high, but what I do know is I think it's in the 40, 50% they've increased it, but it depends on who you're talking about now, because they can also be selective. They can take certain ethnicities or income groups, and they can dial up the denials based on whatever algorithm they decide.
Wow.
The insurance companies saw how much money it was saving them. And so the insurance companies bought the AI companies to incorporate them into their software. So now it becomes opaque because
And they're incentivized.
Yeah, and they've also there are plans to use that and integrate it with Medicare or Medicaid. And what that will the step they're going to take that she lays out in that YouTuber you're talking about, that will actually give back some of the savings to the doctors for denying claims. Essentially, they're incentivizing them to deny coverage because there's more profit at that point.
Wait, the doctors now make more money as well, not just the AI companies
It's the racket. So it becomes hard to see where the money's flowing, which is another major problem. There's so little transparency into this world. We just know there's a lot of CEOs with really big salaries, and we don't get to see where all the money is going. But there's a proposal to integrate AI into that, and then to incentivize companies to deny, which would filter down to doctors as well, because the doctors are employed by the company, right? They're not independent. It's roughly 79 something percent. So call it 80% of doctors in the US are now employed, which means they don't work for you. Their boss is insurance and the boss is the hospital. And so in that model, when the incentives are to deny claims, the doctors can get, we don't have evidence of this because it's not official yet, but the doctors would be incentivized to not give you care because that saves them money. So,
and some are being fired from this. They're being fired for looking out for you.
Yeah, that's the sickness of. There's a great testimony from back in January 2026. So not long ago, a few months ago, on Capitol Hill, they had a hearing about this centralized racket that health insurance has become. And there's a doctor who's also an elected official talking about he had his claim denied 8 times. He's a doctor. He knows how the system works. And he said, there are so many people in this line of work who are quitting because they are so frustrated that AI is now the doctor. They don't get to be doctors anymore. They don't have permission. They have someone looking over their shoulder constantly. And that's what the average person entering the system does not know.
The
And
Hippocratic Oath is dead.
it died a long time ago, I think.
Mhm. Oh, sure.
That model is just, I hate to say it, it's a model of extraction, and it's different lipstick on the same pig. They're just continuing to find ways to squeeze us for the almighty dollar, and that model doesn't have to be that way. There are so many better options, and
Yeah.
I think I may have found the best one out there. So
Totally, and we'll get into that because it's truly extraction toward extinction. Like they're
yeah,
like a good parasite.
yeah,
uh, this is the parasite cleanse for your wealth and for your health because
yeah.
this solution we're going to talk about because like a good parasite,
Mhm.
State Farm is there. Wait, sorry.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like a good parasite, State Farm will rob you of all of your everything, your wealth and your health. They extract everything they can out of you for their profit and their power,
hmm,
and they extinct you. And this is how my grandma died. She didn't die of Alzheimer's. She died with Alzheimer's, and she was the first nurse anesthetist in the United States. That's where I got a lot of my medical background and inspiration was from her. But she died on over 10 medications and she died with no money. And she
wow,
had money, but all of that money, the
yeah,
extraction process, went to the healthcare system and left her children with nothing. And it's not about that. It's about every parent dreams of passing on the next generation with some degree of wealth, whether that be wisdom or
hmm,
actual money that they could use. Energy, money is just energy and currency that you could use to flow toward the things that you deserve and desire, which is optimal health and choice, not
hmm,
control. I mean, there's so much more I could say, but Christian, I think that you covered some of the things I really wanted to cover that I had forgotten about because the AI incorporation into healthcare is disgusting to me. It
yeah,
is doctors have completely lost control, and it's sad because a lot of them get into the space because they care, and then
hmm,
over time they realize that they can't. They can't. The more care they offer, the less money that's made for this profiteering FDA, CDC sick care system. And once you understand that the two most profitable industries in the world is illness and war, then you might start looking elsewhere
yeah.
for the anti-illness paradigm, which is the wellness proponent. And that's what this whole health share system is all about.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to have other options. And to Robin's point, yeah, and similar to you, I imagine I'm not interested in chemo and radiation someday as my fallback position if something happens.
Same.
I'm in it for coverage of accidents and catastrophes and things that would otherwise potentially bankrupt our family or give us a major setback. And to have the confidence, one, that I have an advocate in my corner who knows the fair market value for every single thing that insurance could possibly bill you for. And there are so many codes for so many particular things. There's a side note, there's a particular code for getting bit by a parrot. And there's another code for getting bit by the same parrot twice. And I don't need to know all of these ridiculous codes.
Parrots
I
are
just,
scary.
yeah, I just need to know that Impact knows them, and Impact knows what a fair market value is
Right.
for any given thing that would come up. And I'm not going to be raked over the coals and have to go put my boxing gloves on to do combat with an insurance company to try to get a fair coverage. So, personal example, this happened literally this morning. My son he hit a bookshelf with his hand and needed stitches back at the end of April, so 40 or so days ago. And he had I got the bill this morning, and I got the bill after Impact had negotiated it. So he needed 6 stitches, and they wanted to charge me $6,200 for a 2.5, 3 hour visit, where most of the time was us waiting. And 6 stitches later, Impact reduced the bill to $279.
Wow. That's like $5,000.
Oh, yeah, almost 6.
Was there an ICD code for being attacked by a bookshelf? I mean,
No, I wish there was. Maybe there was. Who knows? I didn't have to be in the middle of it. The beauty thing is I just had to give them
yeah.
my card, and they took the number, the phone number, the EDI payer ID number, and they can work it out amongst themselves and let me know
Oh,
if you need me, is how that process worked out. But almost $6,000 off of the bill. And that was my moment of like, oh my gosh, I am so glad I decided to do this, because that right there almost saved me 6 grand, or how much time trying to figure out how to negotiate and how in the
oh,
world they came up with that crazy amount of bills that they or add-ons they could put on it. But what I've learned about the insurance world is and once you see this, you can't unsee it. When you walk in, the first thing they want to do is weigh you, and they want to take your blood pressure, and they want to take your temperature. All of those become billable things. And
Right.
as this nurse was performing this, I don't know, service, I guess, for my son, it's obvious what his problem is. We don't need to know how tall he is in order to stitch up his hand. But all of those things become line items in your bill that they're doing to do their due diligence or for whatever purpose. And Impact knows you don't need to know. I'm not going to pay you to measure his height for stitches in his hand. And so what they do is they cut the fluff out of it. So even in an instance where you need the help, you know that finally there's somebody who understands this world and won't let me be taken advantage of. And I don't know what went on behind the scenes. I just know I didn't have to be part of it. And it was a big comfort to me to think, okay, that's the advocate I have in my corner now. And
That's huge.
it's so different. And it's so nice to have. And they'll even do it. So say you came in with a pre-existing condition, and that would like something like diabetes or cancer that you've had, and you start a membership with Impact, and then you get a bill. Impact won't cover something pre-existing like that unless it's been 3 years, but they will negotiate the bill on your behalf. And so I've got whopper, like a over $500,000 bill that got reduced by about 300,000. And then the members share kick in. And so there's different elements of how having a concierge, having an advocate in your corner, even if you have pre-existing condition, can make a major difference, peace of mind wise, to know that whatever happens, I'm going to be covered, or I'm not going to be taken advantage of. And this isn't a bankruptcy event. This isn't you're not in the position of Robin's mom hoping that something's going to be taken care of. You just know.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like almost too good to be true. And it's like, what is your peace worth? I mean, the number one, I was a financial planner in my 20s. The number one reason that people divorced was because of financial stress. It's like, and we've got 60% of marriages ending now, and financial stress is at least half of the root cause. So, I mean, and another thing, people, adrenal fatigue, thyroid dysfunction, chronic fatigue, long COVID, mitochondrial dysfunction. This is the main drain. It is fighting this system. So how cool is that you almost have your own like paralegal that's negotiating for you?
Yeah.
I mean, how much would I pay? I actually pay attorneys for cases that I have right now. It's like, you don't have to pay for that. It's already innately a part of the healthcare process. That's huge.
Yeah. I had no heartburn after that. I'm like, oh, they're on the case.
No PPIs necessary. No,
right. I'll keep my stomach acid as is. Thank you very much. And
yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Christian, those are great examples. And how blessed are we that you had this literally on your desk today to share as a story, because it's a huge victory. I mean, I even think about women who I wrote about this in my book, Killer Breasts, is that the actual charge that I would have paid for my explant to get my breast implants out would have been like $12,000. And I only paid like $300. And I wanted to pass on that template to other women so that if and when they got to that place, they knew how to fight for themselves. But here we are talking about, you don't need to fight for it anymore. I'm curious if anybody gets this health share, if they go to get their explant, what would actually be covered and negotiated down? Because a lot of women are doing this and it's costing $20,000, $30,000 now. It's higher than when I did it. So there's so many reasons that you need healthcare, but you're not going to want to go to the hospital to do that. Of course, you're going to want to work with a doctor who works with outpatient, and they do, of course, you have to pay for anesthesia and all those things. But, Christian, anything to say about that before we start getting into the slides? Because I'm sure they're
I'm happy to speak to that. So what's fun about Impact in particular is that there is no network. You just have to find anywhere where there's a doctor that takes insurance or would take it if they agree to that relationship. You now can say, best explant surgeon in the country, you type that in and you can go find that doctor. And if that doctor tells this person that it's medically necessary, Impact will pay the bills, no questions asked. They won't look over their shoulder and tell them they can't do this, that, or the other, or how they're supposed to do it, or deny the claim. Impact is, because it's not for profit, its fiduciary responsibility is to the members. So it would look out for the member and say, if this is what the doctor says you need, and you found the best surgeon in the country, fantastic. Tell us where to send the money. And they'll do that, no questions asked. So
within a short time frame without it getting drug out for years, right?
Yes, they pay the average bill pay is 15 days, which is why doctors love this.
Yes, and doctors love it too. Yes.
Yeah, it's not, "Oh, crap, it's that." No, it's like, "Sweet." They even have another fun perk they have is that they will pay for your an annual wellness checkup. So you can go in, you get up to $150 worth of labs. Impact pays the bill before you even show up. All you have to do is schedule it, and that's kind of the camel's nose under the tent for Impact. They get into a doctor's office, like, "I haven't even seen the person, and you've already paid me for it?" Yeah,
Mhm.
they're that serious about keeping this person proactive and helping them manage their health. So yeah, there's so many perks that come with it, and I'm happy to share or tell you all sorts of fun stories or just some of the when you start seeing the benefits stack or you see a side by side comparison, you'll like if you're like me, you'll never go back because I don't. It feels so good to opt out of paying for icky things that you don't want to have your money go toward, or for paying just to keep a corrupt system making more money. Never mind the savings. That's the thing that gets most people's attention. It's not that insurance or these medical procedures need to be $6,000, $1,000 plus per stitch. Come on. It's that these things are wasteful and there's such a less expensive, more economical way to do this. When you pay a fair market value, the savings that you get switching from insurance to bill sharing is typically what gets everyone's attention. It's like, wait, it's how much? So we're technically allowed to say you can save 30 to 50% compared to traditional insurance. I know people that are saving 75, 80% compared to insurance. And that alone, Obamacare expired at the beginning of this year. For those who don't know it, I saw a stat this week. There's about 3 million people that have been dropped from Obamacare. Now they can't afford it. Similar to the story you told, it's a second mortgage now. So it's roll the dice, hope nothing happens. But they don't know. Less than 2% of people even know about bill sharing as an option. And it's so much savings for what I would argue is way better coverage. So anyway, you guide me where you want me to go with that, and I'll jump in and share.
Yeah, coverage for, by the way, if you walk into that hospital, you have no rights. Sign your rights away. So you're actually, you're totally out of control. If you're in an accident and they put you under, and I've heard so many stories like this, people getting into car accidents and they have to get put under immediately, and then they get vaccinated while they were in surgery and they didn't authorize it. So when my parents went to the hospital, I had them bring a bunch of forms that said, I do not want any of these vaccines while I'm under. Please do not administer anything. And we talk about that. Thank you, Paula. Putting protocolkills.com has a lot of forms that you can take. But this is, again, fighting. You have to fight so much and know so much. And then you deplete your life force, your chi.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a completely different system. And I want to make sure that we cover people who have kids too, like you were saying, Christian. I know people are going to have questions around, do I keep both insurances just in case? Like I'm sure there's a lot of different questions that people are going to ask, because this is, like you said, less than 2% of people even know that this exists. So let's start showing them. I'd love for them to see the side-by-side comparisons.
Okay.
And start
Let me show you a couple things that will potentially clarify a lot of some of the basic questions people have. So let me know if you can see that. Are you seeing my slide deck?
Not yet. Oh, it looks like you're sharing now. Yep.
Okay. So here's your side-by-side comparison with Impact or traditional insurance. So you're going to have, as we've already established, high monthly premiums when you're talking about traditional insurance. Those are just continuing to rise. Inflation's baked in. It's not going down. That's a design feature. So like I said, 30 to 50% savings is what we're allowed to tell people. I've seen more with some frequency. You have a high deductible per family member with insurance. And when it comes to Impact, they use a different word. They say PRA, or personal responsibility amount, the amount that you're personally responsible for before the members would share the rest of your bill. So that goes as low as $2,500, but it's per household. So if there's two of you in a car accident and your total PRA, or what you think of as a deductible in insurance, it hits $25,000, your family's covered. Anything beyond that, the members share in. So you have to be, typically with insurance, you have to be part of a specialized network. That's how they keep people going back to their employees and continue to extract more money. So like I said, you could type in best explant surgeon in the country, find that person. And then you could go, I think I have a recommendation on that actually, but you could go find that person, schedule an appointment, Impact to pay the bill, no questions asked, because there's no network. As long as there's an insurance code for that particular thing and a medical professional would say that is a service we think this person needs, you're good. They have RX pricing. They're going to give you a dramatically lower price.
You guys, just in case you didn't know, RX means prescription.
Yep.
Christian, are you able to maximize it so we can just see one slide at a time? Because right now we can kind of full
Yeah, let
slideshow.
me see if I
And
can.
then while he's doing that, you guys, I did confirm with Robin before our show that you can actually pay for like supplements and peptides and things that you're already doing on your own that are considered your own healthcare with
Mhm.
the money that you save. So I think that's pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, no, that's one of the wellness rewards. Correct. I'll mention that in a second. So prescription drug pricing much lower. They have typically the copays or what people are used to, the provider fees we call it in Impact. The copay when you go to the doctor's office, you pay the $25 or $100 fee or whatever it is for the ER. Those are often significantly lower with Impact. There's an extra cost if you need telehealth, meaning you need to. Something just came up. I'm not sure if I need to go to the ER. With Impact, you can call a doctor 24/7 for no money, and it's always there. And it could save you so many trips to the hospital or so many visits you did not need or get sucked into one giant expense that in the final analysis wasn't necessary. And then interestingly, they'll cover migrants to the US. So somebody from Mexico, Guatemala, or Canada, even if you don't have a social security number, you can become a member of Impact. They'll only cover you in the United States for regular instances, but outside the US, no other bill sharing offers this. Any accident you have in any country in the world, as long as it's an emergency, Impact will pay the bill.
Wait a minute. So people who live in Mexico
Uh-huh.
not necessarily are just traveling from the United States to Mexico, because I also wonder what countries that are represented by Impact. So let's say someone lives in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Would having this plan allow you to do the same features and benefits?
Yep. As long as you can't get the service in Mexico unless it's an emergency. You can't go in for, I don't know, I want to get my eye checkup or something and have that covered in Mexico.
Okay.
But you could schedule your annual wellness visit in the US. As long as you have a passport from any of those 3 countries, you can apply to be an Impact member and have anything you do in the US covered as long as there's an insurance code.
So it's more so for people who live in the United States that are from Mexico, Guatemala, Canada, or people who are in the United States traveling to any other country that has an emergency, not necessarily for like maintenance, annual checkups, supplement purchases, lab purchases, things like that. Okay.
You got it. Yep. And then they also have telehealth. So you get 3 free visits with a counselor for any new incident. So your dog dies, you get in a car accident, you're kind of traumatized. Those count as separate incidents. So you could get 3 free visits of telehealth per incident per person in your membership. So for me, I got 8 people in our membership, 6 kids. If we all got in a car accident, we could have 24 telehealth visits if we really.
Wait, and you can choose your own mental health doctor or
so there's basically a network of people that are available if you have something come up and you just want to talk it through with the counselor. After 3 visits, then it's up to you to decide if you want to hire that person and keep that relationship going.
Is that things like EMDR and hypnotherapy and psychology, just any?
As long as there's an insurance code for it. Yep.
Wow.
Otherwise it would count as so the other thing I can show your audience here, let me find that slide real quick, is the wellness reward. So this is another fun aspect of Impact. So beyond the savings, like that's the part that gets everyone's attention. Like we said, no provider restrictions. They have comprehensive healthcare. Any insurance code will get covered. There's no utilization reviews, which means the insurance and the hospital CEO is not looking over the shoulder of the doctor. You can enroll the entire year. There's no like open enrollment period where, shucks, you missed it, you got to wait another 6 to 12 months. Like we mentioned, the telehealth and complementary healthcare, but they have annual wellness visits and lab credits covered. The savings for vision and dental. They also cover midwifery and maternity services. So if somebody wants to go that route. And then the wellness rewards is the one I was getting to. So up to $150 a month per household. So that means if you buy supplements, if you invest in Diane's program, if you spend money on a Peloton or whatever else, that is covered. And you get that gives you $150 credit toward what in the insurance world they call a deductible. And they will take that off of your annual amount. So you can, over the course of a year, reduce your your deductible, your PRA, by up to $1,800. And that's less that you would pay if you needed to use the member benefits. So they also have up to 50 combined visits per member for any outpatient therapy. So chiropractic, physical therapy, vision, occupational speech therapy, et cetera. 50 visits. This is after you've met your deductible, your PRA. Then they will come in and cover whatever number of visits you need for any new accident. And that includes anywhere in the world. So if you get in an accident and you need this therapy, you can get it there, come back here, whatever it is, Impact will take care of that for you.
Yeah, Robin was sharing a story with me about how she got into a car accident, and
Mhm.
the chiropractor that she's been working with still doesn't have any of the money that they have
Exactly. Yeah.
worked their time to share for energy to help Robin heal, and they're still fighting with insurance on it, and that's years down the road. And just like you said, Christian, this is actually what makes chiropractors and doctors happier to work with you, so they
Yeah.
treat you better.
Yes, exactly. They're wait, I don't have to wait years. I got in a car accident 2 or 3 years, probably close to 3 years ago. Got rear-ended, and I still have not had a settlement from State Farm. It's just they
Wow.
everything they can do to push out paying that and just hope that it goes away. Um, well, car insurance is its own racket. I'll
You get hurt, it turns into like a little mini lawsuit, and you have to fight.
Yes,
You have to
it shouldn't be
fight,
that way.
and you're the one that's the victim of being injured. Okay, it's obviously broken.
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
Robin, if you wanted to say something about that, because we were just talking about you and the chiropractor and the I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention is a different story. This guy named Frank that I play pickleball with, I actually saw him with all this stuff all over him, gauze and a syringe with his own blood in it. I went up to him and said, "What's going on here?" And he said, "I have a blood infection, and they're trying to figure out what the E. coli infection is, and so I'm on 5 different antibiotics." He said, I was just in the hospital for 5 days, and he said, "I have really good insurance, but they won't let me go into like a skilled nursing facility or any kind of doctor's office. I have to administer my own IV twice a day." And he said it involves about 20 different steps. It involves sterilizing a needle. And this guy's like 68 and really overweight. And so I was completely shocked. And it's just another data point in showing how I think people, when they first start considering health sharing, they think that insurance is like better. It's the gold standard. Actually, as we mentioned before, and you should probably in your show notes, if you can, put that YouTube video by that independent journalist. It's 15 minutes. And she's talking about how these AI companies are compensated based on the number of rejections that they give. And there's like one doctor who has this steady stream of mostly denials for claims going past her, and she gets penalized if she overrides more than, I want to say, 1 in 100. This journalist covers it. But anyway, so back to my friend Frank. This is a guy who has really good insurance. Like, these are people who are curating the best, the very successful people who are curating the best that money can buy. And he said, yeah, I asked them, I said, how are you shouldn't have to give yourself an IV. And he goes, yeah, I asked them, what if I was 92 years old? And they said, you'd still have to do it yourself unless you were literally in an institution. Like if you were in a senior care facility inpatient, you would have to do it yourself. And so my story with my car accident, not to just keep telling stories, but I'm well over 2 years past it now. And I didn't just have normal insurance. This is my car insurance we're talking about now, because in Florida, it's no fault. So even though a guy hit us from behind texting and driving, it's on my insurance just because of how our state laws work. But I had an additional $500,000 coverage over and above. So for underinsured and uninsured motorists. And so even though I had a very elite package that like half of 1% of Floridians have, I am still fighting to get my chiropractor paid. Like you said, he's gotten some money, but he's basically just waiting. And he says it's very standard for them to have to wait 2 and 3 years to get paid from car accidents because of insurance. Point is, I have a $500,000 rider that I've been paying on for years and years and years, and they are just holding out. And so now I have some really fancy lawyers who are having to sue to pay for the care I have already received for over 2 years. I mean, it's not like my back is better. It's a little bit better, but this is just a state of insurance. And that's why I think it's really important that we look at health sharing. I know that you want to move on to how to do that and how to look into it, but I just want to throw a couple more data points in here because we're all facing this stuff. This stuff is not actually unusual.
And you don't know until you know. And we don't want you to have to get to that point where you figure this out the hard way. So, I mean, that's what I want to see is what does this look like? You know, if we're looking at Christian, the average family, let's say of 4,
Uh-huh.
And they're looking to do a health share plan. What does the average person save on average, the average family save on average? And then I know we can put pre-tax dollars into their bucket of money. How much, what is typical for a family, and how much are they saving, and what does that look like for them?
Yeah, let me show you. I'll just do a quick share again and show you kind of the breakdown so people that are visual have an easier time seeing it here. So the basically for individuals, it starts around $73 a month, which sounds shocking to most people. My sister is actually the one that's like, "This is ridiculous. I'm getting raped by these insurance companies. I never use it." And I told her, like, check out Impact.
And $1,000 per month is average now for someone like in
Yeah,
their 40s, like
it's
me, with not
nuts.
even that many pre-existing conditions, if at all.
Right. And so, and 378 is where family starts. So family is considered 3 plus. So for me, 3 plus means 8. So I get all 6 of my kids, doesn't change the rate at all. Any
Wow.
more than 3 is the same thing. So I'm currently paying 571 a month for all 8 of us. And then for seniors, it starts around $96. So average is about $100 for seniors. Their PRA, or their deductible, is fixed at $1,000 and will never go over that.
Mm.
So that's some of the fun. And there's no pre-existing clause with seniors as long as they have Medicare A and B. But to
Wow.
get a quote, they could just, the link that you've got for them, they can find this section of that webpage, and you answer 2 questions. What's the date of the oldest person in your family what's their birth date? And how many people are we talking about? And it will, within literally 5 seconds, give you a quote, give you 4 options of how you, unless you're over 65, it'll give you 4 options to get a quote for your particular family. But like we said, they start at this and they go up based on a handful of things, how many
Mhm.
people, or if you're a smoker, if you're obese, and if you have pre-existing conditions, then there's not an upcharge. It's just that some of the things won't be covered. So sometimes in that instance, you can split the family. Like if mom had cancer and she's got insurance and you want to put the rest of the family on a different policy, you could do something like that. And mom could still get the benefit of the price negotiation at that point. So that's really where it starts with cost wise. So I'll send it back to
Incredible.
you for that one. Yeah.
Christian, we've got to start wrapping, and then we're going to hop over to the VIP group where it's going to be me and Christian talking more about this and answering some of your questions, because I'm sure that you guys are in the space of, okay, what about me and my situation and my family? And so this is the place to do it. Or if you guys are listening and you're not in our VIP group or have no interest in it, which we put the link below, if you guys like to join us, we'll be in there. But the other option is to contact Christian or
Mhm.
also Robin, and they will support you. But the easiest first step, right, Christian, is just to go get a quote online. It's pretty simple. Like if they
Yeah.
wanted to take action, it's pretty simple to get a quote.
Yeah, it is. And it's actually quite simple to sign up. I think I signed my whole family of 8 up. Like I'm individually putting everybody in. I think it took me 20, 30 minutes to do it. It's not this onerous process. It's just, oh,
Mhm.
this is what it could have been the whole time when it was not for profit. It was just there to help people. Because
Right.
this whole thing started with mutual aid societies and Amish and Mennonite just sharing
Mm.
community with each other and helping each other make sure they weren't, underwater because of some accident. And
Yeah.
that's
What would
here we
you
are.
say, like, just to ease, because I'm sure a lot of people have the same questions. Is there any like 3 common questions that we could address on the show that you can cover now, so we don't get hundreds of people reaching out?
Bombarded with the same. Yeah. So
Yeah.
an important thing to know about impact. This is a big, majorly important differentiator. If you're looking into bill sharing as your alternative to insurance, what you're going to find in the bill sharing world is a reimbursement model, which means they'll still negotiate the bill for you, but whatever the bill ends up being, you have to pay it first out of your own pocket. And then the members will come behind sometime later and reimburse you for that expense. So I had a story where my son needed a major surgery on his head when he was less than a year old. And the bill was $50,000. It got negotiated to $25,000, but I still had to come up with that money. This is like 10 years ago. And fortunately, I had it, but I had to wait 2, 3 months for checks to show up in the mail to be reimbursed by the other members. Impact is not that. Impact is they just directly pay the bill. They do all the work interacting with the healthcare provider, and they pay the bill, and they just let me know what my share of it is if I have not met my PRA yet. But that is a major difference, because if you don't have it and you have a catastrophe, then it's GoFundMe, and you got to find some way to pay that bill
Mhm.
if you have a big enough credit card balance or whatever, in order to hopefully get reimbursed in a timely manner
With standard health
with
insurance.
standard, Well, with bill sharing, most bill sharing options are not that. They are
Which is
reimbursed.
not what impact is.
Impact is not. Impact is not a reimbursement model. They are paid directly to the provider.
Huge.
Just they made it to be as similar to insurance as possible. Anybody that's used to insurance, it's some different words, but it's the same functions, and it's just human and it's fast, and you don't have near the stress knowing that
Gosh,
they've got your back. They've never had a bill they couldn't pay.
all the people that have all these websites with stories on
Mhm.
GoFundMe and they've had no hope. I mean, I've seen people try to raise and they needed like $50,000 and they raised like 1,000.
Yeah, it hurts.
Imagine not even yeah, and then you're struggling and where am I going to get the money? And then never mind, the delay of your treatments could actually cause you to die. There's lots of stories like that too.
Yeah.
Especially in Canada, people are not getting the care that they need and they have to delay their or push out or not even
Mhm.
schedule their surgery until a year. I mean, and then meanwhile, people die. I mean, this is even happening in the United States more and more now. People can't even get a doctor's visit for 3-6 months because they're so booked out
Yeah.
and
Right.
more people are getting sick. And so then
Mhm.
imagine having to wait versus choosing your own doctor
Yeah.
and having control.
And having the doctor get paid in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
Or roughly 2 weeks. That's doctors are just shocked that Impact pays the bill that fast. The other thing that's a big differentiator with Impact, and I don't think anyone else, insurance or bill sharing does this, is their financial transparency. So I could log in right now and show you the member dashboard, and I can tell you how much money Impact has in the bank. In a
Mm,
members only account that the people that work at Impact can't touch. It is
wow.
its own separate account. I checked it this morning. It was just under $19 million. Like I said, they've never had an amount they could not pay. One, you saw my bill today from 6,200 to 279. Crazy. They can negotiate. There's been liver transplants, things over $1.5 million. They negotiate down to 300,000. Like their ability to get what is fair and to do it transparently is they're in a league of their own because you can see where all your money's going. You see who has need just by household. You don't see the individuals, their personal details, and then you know how much money's in the bank. They are very solvent. They had one season, they had a surplus, and by law, they had to give some of it back to the members because they had more than they needed. So,
Whoa. Okay. So to your point, doing the math,
mhm,
they did need a liver transplant and they did negotiate it down to 300,000 and someone did have impact. If
mhm,
they had an annual deductible that was like 10,000, that's all that they would pay out of pocket.
mhm.
And health share would cover the other
Health share,
290,000.
and then there's a 10%. So let's say in your example, somebody had a $300,000 bill. They had a $10,000 PRA. So they'd be responsible for the first 10,000 and
Mhm.
they would be responsible for 10% of the remaining bill with a max of 5,000.
Okay.
So
So instead of
they'd be
30,000,
out
it'd be
15
5,000.
grand max for that $300,000 bill.
Wow. Versus like health insurance, which is an unknown.
Yeah,
They can
they might
do
pay
whatever
for it.
they
They might
want.
not. They might deny you because that's an expensive bill and I don't want to pay that.
True. The denial, that's so true. Oh my gosh. Okay. We could go on and on with stories. And of course, everybody has their own and has their own health issues or pre-existing conditions or genetic factors or whatever the case may be. So let's take this to the VIP group because I know you guys are going to have so many questions. I'm done being selfish by asking the questions for you. So let's head over to the VIP group. You guys, this is a really important episode. So please share this with everybody. And I mean this. I really mean this. Health share this with everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has health insurance or should at least have some coverage. This is not one of those things where it's just hormone talk or just gut dysfunction. This is everybody. This is
Mhm.
every American
Yeah.
needs to know this because the future does not look any better than the past has been not with the healthcare system. This
Yeah.
is a completely different model.
And let me echo one thing because I want people to understand if you want a different system, you have to opt out with your money. You have to say, I choose not to engage that, and I choose to spend my money and vote with my dollars somewhere else. So if you want to see a system
Yes.
reformed, stop feeding it money and put it somewhere else that demonstrates a better model.
Thank you. This is the question when people I see so many times are doing shows and in the comments, people are like, well, what do we do? You know, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you guys wake up and take action. And people are like, well, what do we do? How do we stop funding the beast and feeding the parasites, the big worm, that
Yeah.
is the system, is to exit it and say, no, thank you. I have a much better alternative and this feels better for me. And they're looking out for me.
Right.
So I think this is one of the biggest ones because the healthcare system is the biggest, one of the two most profitable industries in the world. And so this is how I think this is how we could rise together. So it's very spiritual too when you think
Yeah,
about
it
this.
is.
It's personal accountability, taking responsibility, and saying, and thankfully that gives me greater control. So
Yeah.
yay.
Exactly.
Any final words, Christian, before we go into the VIP group?
Now, I guess if there's one other thing that might tantalize people is that a differentiator for Impact. So they are a Christian ministry. They have a love thy neighbor policy, meaning they won't reject anyone of any faith or any background. Doesn't matter what you believe politically or how you think. They want this to be something anyone can access. You don't have to get a pastor to sign off that you are a member of a church or that you tithe or anything like that. They're just here to help. They're really good at it, and they're looking out for you. They do have some principled things they won't spend money on, like vaccines or abortion or trans procedures, but everything else they'll cover.
So you don't have to be Christian to be covered.
No,
Okay.
you don't.
That's great. And also, you guys, we'll put the links below as well. If you're a company that has health insurance and you have lots of employees, and this sounds like something that you'd rather switch
Major.
to, Paula will fly that link below in the ticker. That's dianekaiser.com/impact biz. That might be a bigger question because now we're talking maybe dozens, if not hundreds of employees. So that might be a place to reach out to Christian personally and open that conversation. Or if you're somebody who's listening, maybe you're a podcaster, you're a leader, and you want to also share this and earn some income doing so, because this is what we do. This is how we fund our podcast. I will make money, full disclaimer and transparency, on people who also sign up for this, because it keeps this podcast going. We work for free here, and each show costs at least $500 to produce.
Yeah.
So, there's no shame in that. So if you're somebody else who, Cynthia, I'm thinking about you, and many other people who have a place that reaches thousands of people, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds. This is how we rise together, at least in the health space. So if you guys want to become a team member and share this with others and earn an income doing so, that's dianekaiser.com/impact team. It's not a crazy MLM model like everybody thinks. It's totally different, where you can, if you'd like to, but there's no crazy minimums and whatnot that a lot of other companies, people have opted out of. There are some, but I think that everybody should have their own policy anyway. I know we don't use that term, policy. We don't use
It's just a membership. Yeah.
Membership.
Yep.
Different terms.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Christian. Any final words on that? Because I know I opened up that too.
Yeah, well, what's that? People talking differentiators with Impact, it is that they pay a referral commission. I used to be with Samaritan's Ministries, which is great. I have nothing bad to say about them, but they did raise my rates twice since COVID. Impact's never done that. And Impact offers a referral bonus. The best I would ever get with Samaritans was a $100 thank you bonus one time. Cool. And Impact decided to partner with a model that says we'll pay you every month if you refer one person. So I can get paid monthly. It's a modest amount, but it's a recurring commission for just connecting the dots. And so that's, like she said, it's a way that we can fund what we do. I also have a podcast, and you're right. It's a lot of work to put these shows together and to try to be something impactful. And this is another way that we can help get the word out and receive a nice compensation for it.
Yeah, for sure. And no shame in that. Everybody deserves to, so comment, share, you guys below. Make sure you're subscribed to whatever channel. I know we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on BitChute, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. So we always love to hear any kind of impact that this has had on you. If you do have questions, I personally may not be able to answer all of them in the comments below, but you can reach out to Christian. We'll put all that information below if you guys want to reach out to Christian or Robin to ask questions. If not, you can join us for the VIP for a live conversation. If you're watching this later, you could join the VIP and watch the replay, because we are going to get into it. So we did put Christian's cell phone number below. And we just flew that below. So that's 571-217-6712. So we'll see you guys in the VIP group. Thanks again, Christian, for being here. And thank you, Robin, for bringing this to my attention. I'm excited for you guys to experience this and get the hell out of the hell care this time.
Yes, exactly.
All right. See you guys next time, and see you in the VIP group. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me.